Hi, and welcome to Agent Edge. Today we're diving into one of the most critical yet often overlooked skills in real estate, showing homes. So, what is this training about? Well, this session is your step by step guide to mastering the art of home showings. From setting the stage before your client arrives, to reading subtle social cues, and even how to wrap a showing in a way that builds momentum towards an offer. So, why does this matter? Well, because showing a home isn't just about unlocking a door, it's your moment to build trust, create emotional connection, and ultimately guide your buyer towards making a confident decision. So, why now? Well, in today's market, buyers are even more informed, more distracted than ever. So, your ability to deliver a powerful, memorable showing experience is what will set you apart. If you're just winging it, you're leaving money and loyalty on the table. So, how will we do it? Well, today we're going to cover how to prepare before a showing, how to guide the tour with intention, how to speak with influence, and how to read the room literally and emotionally. You'll leave with real world tips, exact phrases to use, and the confidence to own every single showing appointment. So, let's get into it. Okay, let's jump right into Foundational Factory showing homes. Today we're going to master the art of showing homes. All right, first, why this matters. So, today's training is one of the most critical skills in this home buying process. I like to think of showing homes as you are still on stage in front of your clients at this point. You've already done a buyer presentation. Now you're physically meeting them at these houses. This is the perfect opportunity for you to continue building this trusting and, more importantly, lasting relationship with your buyers. This is not the time to just wing it. We're not taking our foot off the pedal at this moment. In fact, this is where we become even more intentional with all of our social cues and all the words coming out of our mouth. Okay, why does it matter? Well, a showing is more than just unlocking a door. It's our chance to create that emotional connection and to earn their trust. Today, we're going to go over tools to help you prepare for these showings with so much confidence. We're going to go over how to read social cues, how to communicate effectively, and how to set the stage for an offer. The reason we're going to focus on this last one is so many times agents will go as far as showing these houses. We put in so much time, energy, and money to get to this point that we don't even ask for the offer at the end of it. So we're going to change that today. First, we're going to go over the pre-showing preparation. So set the stage for success right off the bat. I always say it's hard to be successful without the preparation. That includes showing homes. Again, we're not winging it. We're being very intentional throughout this process. So we have to understand and know our buyer and know their criteria, their lifestyle, their wants versus their needs, any deal breakers that are on the table for us. Okay? Ask things like, what does your perfect home feel like? Property preview. We want to preview the home in advance whenever possible. This isn't always possible, especially if you're with a client and showing them 15, 20 homes. We understand this can't happen. But the few times that it might be just one or two homes, it's a good idea to get a good grasp of this house. So if you can stop by before, understand the layout, you actually might ultimately end up saving you time, because when you get to the house, you may realize there's deal breakers already in there. You can communicate that to them and it might be off the table at that point. But it's showing that you care and that you're prepared. Pay attention to smells, sound, light, etc. Make sure you're communicating this properly with your clients. Neighborhood intelligence. Drive the area beforehand, know what the school districts are, the names of the parks nearby, and any potential red flags, meaning is it street facing, is it a busy street, is there construction nearby? This is all ammo for you to really look like you're a professional and that you care for their well-being throughout this entire process. Agent notes and documents. Make sure you're reviewing the MLS agent remarks, disclosures, and past listing photos. Look for inconsistencies or hidden gems that you might be able to highlight throughout your showing. And set the mood. So if you're showing 5 or 10 homes in a row, the first home that you're meeting them at, make sure you arrive 5 to 10 minutes early. Open up all the blinds, turn on all the lights, adjust the temperature if needed. This is going to create a warm, welcoming vibe as soon as they walk in. Okay, you don't want to be showing up at the exact same time as them. Reading the MLS sheet. So if you are newer to real estate, one of the things I feel you need to practice right off the bat is memorizing where things are on the MLS sheet. As you can see from this version, there's so many things on here that if your eyes aren't trained where to look, you're going to look like you're not prepared. So as you're walking through a house, they may ask you stuff like, how much is the HOA? What year was this house built? How many bedrooms? What is the square footage? You don't want to be looking at this like you don't know this sheet. So you need to understand the sheet like the back of your hand. So if someone were to ask me, hey, Val, what year is this built? My eyes are trained to go exactly to where that section is on the MLS sheet. Okay. So what I tell our agents ahead of time is make sure you're highlighting important details of questions that are often asked. For example, another one is, which appliances are conveying with the house? So I highlight the appliance section. So my eyes are trained to go exactly to that area and I can quickly say, oh, the refrigerator's staying, but the washer and dryer is not conveying. So that's just a little pro tip for you is make sure you highlight these, especially if you're on the newer side. Your first few showings, do this process, and eventually you don't need to highlight because your eyes are going to get trained on where to go. All right, showing access code. This is very important. If we go back to this MLS sheet, you're going to find where it says what needs to happen in order for you to schedule an appointment, which on our MLS sheet is right down here. So you can see this showing. I have to use showing time in order to schedule an appointment. So you want to make sure you look there first. Additionally, and don't skip this step, you also need to read the agent remarks. Sometimes if it says showing time, they might have further direction and instructions for you to follow. You need to respect these. If you don't follow these, you could be fined. For instance, if I just showed up to this house, let myself in with the lockbox without doing a showing time, I could absolutely be fined. Okay, so you want to make sure you're following instructions and respecting the listing agent and their agent remarks. So looking at the showing access codes, a few that we see often is you might see a warning that there's a dog on property. Showing time, which means you physically have to book through the showing time app and wait for a response. We see key call often. That one essentially means you just need to call or send a text or leave a message that you're on your way to go show the property. Key any is signaling that this house is vacant. You do not need to call and leave a message or schedule an appointment. You simply can show up on you and your client's own time and access the lockbox, take the key, and enter yourself in. Okay. And we also see alarm often. So if there's alarm code that's needed, you want to make sure you're communicating with the listing agent ahead of time. Typically, this information lives in that agent remarks section, or if someone has a mechanical lockbox and not an electronical lockbox, you're going to need a specific code for that mechanical lockbox. You want to get all this information before you head to the listing. You don't want to show up, be calling the agent who's now not answering, and you and your clients are standing outside. It's not a good look. So make sure you're following all these instructions. Now, something else I like to do when you're on the MLS, there is a history tab you can click on. I find this to be very beneficial for me and my clients because one of the number one questions I get when we enter these houses is, when did they buy this house and how much did they buy it for? And you can sometimes see a very clear story on how long it's been on the market, if it's been under contract and back on the market. These are things you need to know and discuss with the listing agent to give your client proper information. So I like to be mentally prepared with this information. We have to remember this is proprietary, so you don't want to be giving this printout out to any of your clients, but it's just good for you guys to know on the back end. Okay, so let's go into property presentation and engaging the senses with your clients. So first, we want to lead our clients. We don't want to linger and hover over them. It can be very uncomfortable for them, especially if they don't know you that well yet. This could be the first or second time you're meeting them. Okay, so you want to guide the tour with intention, allow space for the buyer to explore, but stay accessible. One thing I like to do with my clients is let them know this. I will tell them when we enter the house, I'm going to guide you through it, point out a few things to you, but I want you to be able to experience this. And please know I'm not going to be hovering over you, but I'm going to be right next to you should you have any questions. Okay. Another thing I do with my buyers before we even enter the house is I usually send them the morning of a text message, and I let them know that most sellers have cameras inside the house. So let's be aware of any critiques or criticisms we have and save them for after we exit the house. Additionally, we don't want to be talking about any numbers and negotiations while we're showing the house. I will also let my buyers know I represent sellers all the time, and I guarantee you they are watching the video footage and listening to our conversation. So let's be aware of cameras around us. And my buyers are very appreciative of this information. Okay? Highlight emotionally charged spaces. So we want to primarily focus on the kitchen, the primary bedroom, any outdoor areas. Use language that paints a picture for them. So can you imagine having Sunday brunch here? What would Thanksgiving look like for you guys in this dining room? What would Christmas look like for you? You want to tap into their emotional senses because we want to help them vision and have forward thinking of what this house could mean to them should they live in here. We want to show them and not sell them. And this is so important. We're not there to convince our clients. We're there to guide and lead with the utmost amount of professionalism. So let the property speak. Avoid over talking, observe reactions, ask them how things make them feel, how they can picture certain events happening in this house. Answer with confidence. Anticipate common questions of age of system, HOA, taxes, school, etc. This goes back to that very deep preparation you need to take for every showing that you're doing. It's going to set you apart, I promise. And if you don't know the answer and it's not in front of you available, simply say, that is a fantastic question. When I get back to my office, I'm going to get that information and send it right over to you immediately. Avoid any bias. Let buyers form their own opinion. Say, this room has been used as an office. Instead of this would be perfect for your son. So we don't want to force any bias opinions with them, okay? An amateur move I see happen a lot, and I did it at the beginning of my career, is saying stuff like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this countertop, or these floors are so beautiful. Because what can happen is they'll say, we hate these floors. We can't stand these countertops. So you don't want to be positioning your opinions into this. Instead, Miss Buyer, how do these countertops make you feel? Miss Buyer, do these floors match the furniture you currently have? When you ask the right curious question, it absolutely opens up the door for further conversation. We have to remember, on a psychology standpoint, our job is to always keep the conversation moving forward, and we do that by asking the right questions. Very curious questions. Okay, let's go into reading social cues and building trust. Body language cues. Leaning in, smiling, lingering are positive signs. If their arms are crossed or they're washing through, that's usually because they're disinterested. So we need to pick up on these things. Mirroring technique. Match their energy and pace to build subconscious rapport. Verbal cues to watch for. I could see us here. This is nice. How long has it been on the market? Those are all cues of them showing interest. Strategic pauses. Silence can be powerful. Give space for thought. So anytime you ask one of those curious questions, stop. Remember, this is not about us, it is about them. And the golden rule, people may forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. Take that one line, my friends, and use it through your entire real estate career because it really is the golden rule. In fact, I hope I'm making you feel a certain way with you watching this training. I completely understand you're not going to remember everything I'm saying. It's a lot. You might have to watch this a few times to really digest everything we're going over today. But what I'm hopeful for is I'm making you feel that you can quickly be so powerful and purposeful, intentional, and confident showing homes. Conducting the tour. This is a fun one. So start with a quick overview. Recap key features and information before entering. So that can look like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm so happy we made it to 123 Main Street. I wanted to give you a heads up. I spoke to the listing agent. They actually have 2 offers on the table. So let's keep that in mind as we're going through this house. Or, hey, I spoke to the listing agent and good news. The seller is very flexible on their timeline, so I am confident we can make this work for you should you fall in love with this house. Follow the flow. Let the layout guide you. You typically go from front door to backyard, and in a couple slides, we're going to go over this in more detail. Give permission for them to feel. Take your time, open closets, picture your furniture here. Okay? Neighborhood nuggets. This park has a weekend farmers market. You guys need to be the source of local knowledge, so keep that in mind as you're doing your preparation. This is going to help you ask the right questions with the listing agent and your search. And pace yourself. You don't want to rush. Give buyers space to emotionally connect. Now, there are times I have to tell my clients, and they do appreciate this as well. I might say something along the lines of, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're seeing 8 homes today, some of which are owner occupied, which means we have to be strategic on our schedule today because we can't get off schedule knowing that these are scheduled on their timeline. So I'm going to keep us honest. There's going to be some times today that I may say, guys, we have to wrap it up and get to the next house. However, I don't want you guys to feel rushed. So please know we can always reschedule a second showing at any house you guys fall in love with. I set the stage and expectation there. That way I'm not stressing out going, uh-oh, we're going to be late, and I don't have the confidence to tell them we got a boogie. Okay. Let the layout guide you. Okay, so we went over typically front door to the backyard, so let's dive into that a little more. You always want to start on the first floor, okay? Begin with common areas like the living room, kitchen, dining, and any downstairs bedrooms or offices. Allow buyers to get a feel for the heart of the home where most of their time will be spent. So again, that's usually around the kitchen, living, dining area. So here's a tip for you guys. Hey, let's start here in the living room so you can imagine how gatherings might feel in this space. Again, I'm tapping into their emotional senses. Okay? Save the second floor for last. Once the downstairs and yard are complete, guide them upstairs and the tour in the primary bedroom if possible, because it really leaves a strong impression. You can say something like, now we're going to head upstairs to see where the day begins and ends, bedrooms, bathrooms, and more privacy-focused spaces. So you see what I'm doing there is I'm leading the tour. I'm the professional. And I want them to see me as that. I want their lens to be looking at me as such. So I have to lead this situation instead of saying, all right, welcome in. You guys go take a look around. I'll be down here. I'll see you in 5 minutes. We don't want to do that. Okay, you want to take charge here. So after the main floor, you're going to go back to the backyard. Okay, so after touring the main living areas, kitchen, dining, guide them through the backyard. This often creates a natural flow and allows buyers to imagine indoor and outdoor living transitions. You can say something like, step outside for a moment. Imagine your mornings or evenings in this backyard. What would that look like? What would that feel like? So as you ask, again, these discovery and curious questions, you're going to discover more and more about your clients, and that's going to solidify that trusting relationship. And here's a bonus pro tip. If the home has a bonus room, a loft, or any additional family room upstairs, use that as a transitional pause before entering the bedrooms to avoid fatigue or rushing. right? Mastering lockboxes and property access. So lockbox etiquette. Don't share codes ever with your clients. For example, if it's a mechanical lockbox, you're not going to let them know what this code is. Make sure you lock up after clients leave. Key handling. Never leave doors unlocked or keys inside unattended. We are human. This stuff does happen, but we don't want it to. You guys can be fined for these little mistakes. If you're having battery troubles on your Sentry lock, keep the support number handy. It should be in your app. And always have your app updated. You don't want to show up to a home and realize your app needs an update and now you guys are waiting outside. Okay? End the showing strong. You want to ask insightful questions like, what stood out to you most? What would you change? Gauge their readiness. If they linger or start asking offer-related questions, they may be close to making an offer. You want to prepare for next steps. Offer to book a second showing or start the offer preparation process. Set the follow-up expectation. Hey, listen, I'm going to send you a recap of next steps this evening. Does that sound good? One thing I've used for years, and it makes such a difference, is a showing checklist. So what I do and what I teach all of our agents to do here is with every client MLS sheet, I staple this on top of it. And before we start our first house, I let them know at the end of our showing, I'm going to ask you to rate this home from 1 to 10. Okay? And I have 2 boxes there in the event it's a couple or a spouse. And I will ask them each and I'll write their name. You know, John gives it a 7, Michelle gives it a 5. And as we're touring the home and I'm asking these curious questions, I'm writing their pros and their cons of the home. And I let them know beforehand that I'm going to do this with every single showing. I also let them know at the end of the day, I'm going to give them copies of every single one of these. And I let them know the reason I do this is because after 3, 4, 5 homes, we're not going to remember which house had the red door or which house had the blue paint or which house had that amazing tree in the backyard. This is my opportunity to make sure that they're digesting all this information in such a safe space. They appreciate this so much, and you have to be consistent. You can't do it for one house and not the other. This is literally part of the process. And I also let them know, listen, the first house, the first time I ask you to give it a 1 to 10, it's going to be the hardest for you. But by the time we get to the second and the third and the fourth home, they're like 7, 5, 4, 8, 9. It becomes a lot easier because I have stuff to compare it to. So let them know it's okay if that first one's a little difficult. Sometimes you get to the third house, they're like, hey, change that first one. We're going to change it from an 8 to a 6 because they found something that's a little more meaningful for them to move forward with. So this is a great exercise. It keeps you engaged. It shows you taking note. It shows you care. And it's helping keeping all of this information organized for them. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to show your value, right? You're helping them keep all their feelings about each home organized and well thought out. All right, social etiquette tips during a showing. I love this part. Okay, so who opens the door? You, as the agent, should be opening the door. You should always take the lead and open the front door first. It signals confidence, set the pace, and helps you control the tour. Let me get that for you and welcome in. If there's a man in the group, some men may instinctively try to open the door or take the lead. If that happens, let it happen gracefully and just say, thank you, feel free to explore. Maintain leadership, but honor their gesture. With couples, make sure you are speaking to both parties equally. If one is more vocal or dominant, don't ignore the quieter one. Use inclusive body language and eye contact with both of them. So do you two entertain often? The flow from kitchen to patio could be great for your guest. When one party is more reserved, help them feel included by gently drawing them in. What are you each hoping to find in your next home? Or do you like the natural light in here? Control the pace with posture and pauses. If buyers are lingering in a room, don't rush them. Smile, give them a moment, and say, take your time. This one's definitely worth feeling out. Okay, pro tips and resources. Wear comfortable professional shoes. You will walk a lot. Have a showing kit. Always have booties in your car, water bottles, hand sanitizer, flashlight, and business cards. Stay safe. Never enter a home that feels off. Trust your gut. You may come across squatters, a situation that just isn't sitting right. Protect yourself and protect your clients. So here's some key takeaways. Preparation absolutely builds confidence. Communication creates connection, and details earn trust. And your clients are going to remember these things. And I want your mindset to be, with your one client, it's not just about them in this one transaction. Each client on average should be 2.5 transactions for you, a buy, a sell, and a referral. You aren't going to get those other two if you don't connect with them on this first one. So please keep that in mind. So here's some further learning. I suggest you read the book Ninja Selling by Larry Kendall. This changed the course of my career at the very beginning for me when it comes to communication. There's a podcast, The Close Real Estate Show. There's a book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents by Phil Jones. He's one of my favorites. So remember, you don't just open doors, you open possibilities. I do hope you found this course meaningful. Please watch the next video and download all the materials below. That wraps up our session on mastering the art of showing homes. So let's do a quick recap. We went over preparation and how it sets the tone, that confidence builds trust, emotional connection drives offers, and every showing is a chance to earn repeat and referral business. So remember, you're not just walking people through walls and windows, you're helping them picture a new chapter of their lives. That's powerful. So take the lead, read the cues, and be intentional. If this training gave you an edge, keep practicing it. Review the checklist, refine your language, and sharpen your awareness. Because at Agent Edge, we don't just show homes, we show up with purpose. We'll see you in the next training.